Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be doing a follow-up on Bitfarms. This is my second biggest position in the crypto or Bitcoin mining space, and I found an awesome research report that I wanted to walk through in today's presentation. And in addition to that, we're going to look at May production results. So a lot to go through in today's video. Before we get into it though, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Bitfarms, how you think they stack up to some of the other miners, and what your thoughts are or your price target for the back half of 2023. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be talking about all things Bitfarms. This is a company that I personally hold. It's my second largest position in the Bitcoin or crypto mining space. And this is one that I'm feeling more confident about by the day, you guys. They're firing on all cylinders. And we've got a really exciting research report that was put out by Canter Fitzgerald to talk about in today's presentation. Now, I quickly wanted to bring up a 1-year view on the graph here. This is on the Toronto listed Bitfarms BITF. They also trade on the NASDAQ in the United States under the same ticker. And you can see over the last 6 months, you guys, really since the lows we saw at the end of last year, where Bitfarms was trading in the neighborhood of about 50 cents, we've seen a tremendous rally, nearly 3xing their share price by the middle of January, and we've held consistent at that $1.50 range for the past few months. So a lot to go through in today's presentation, and a company that I'm super excited about and feeling better about each and every day in my portfolio. Now, before we get into the main event of today's video, I thought we might as well go over their May production results. As you can see, Bitfarms put up about 460 Bitcoin in the month of May. So very impressed with these numbers considering they're just starting to ramp their facility in Argentina. We talked about CleanSpark last week, putting up just north of 600. So Bitfarms is definitely a little bit behind, coming in about 75% of CleanSpark. But keep in mind, you guys, the market cap on Bitfarms and the near-term growth potential of the South American investments. And you can see the first bullet point actually called out in this press release was the addition of 2,900 new miners that have now arrived in the country of Argentina. Now you can see Ben Ganong, who's the Chief Mining Officer or CMO at Bitfarms, went on to say that May production increased actually 6.5% year over year, and makes reference to that temporary spike or 5-day spike approximately we saw in Bitcoin transaction fees that we talked about in our prior video, and then talks about a 47% year over year increase in the hash rate at Bitfarms being offset by a 65% increase in network difficulty, again year over year. So this is definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on as investors in the crypto or Bitcoin mining space. We are starting to see network difficulty increase, and that's likely to continue as we see the rally in the underlying price of Bitcoin. The higher the price of Bitcoin, the more people that want to get involved, the more computers are on the network, and the higher or more difficult it actually becomes from a network difficulty perspective. Now, the other thing I wanted to note, with a Bitcoin price of $27,500 in the month of May on average, the company continued to be cash flow positive, both on an operational front and after you consider the scheduled interest and principal payments they're making on their debt. And again, a goal of Bitfarms is to be debt-free by the halving event in 2024. So as a result, they were able to actually retain or hold on to 45 Bitcoin from their monthly total production in May. They've added that to their reserve, and they're now sitting at 510 Bitcoin in their custody, which again is something I'm really excited to see continue to grow at Bitfarms. So in general, you guys, I'm feeling really good about this investment. This is my second biggest position in the Bitcoin space. They're continuing to put up great monthly Bitcoin production results. They're investing in new operations, primarily in Argentina, which we're going to talk about. They're cash flow positive, and they're continuing to grow or bolster that Bitcoin reserve. Now, as promised in the intro, we've got a really exciting article that was actually published by Canter Fitzgerald to talk about next as the main event of today's video. But I did want to call out specifically, this came out on June 8th, that Bitfarms is now going to participate in the 2023 Canter Fitzgerald Technology Conference, which is being being held in a couple of days here. And I think it's really important to note that Bitfarms is now grabbing the attention of these type of investment firms, not only in the form of analyst or research reports and price targets, which we're going to look at next, but actually in the form of in-person events and conferences as well. So with that being said, the main event here, the Canter Fitzgerald publication that I wanted to talk about in today's presentation. For anyone who's unfamiliar with Canter Fitzgerald, they do extremely good work and very thorough analysis of companies, as you're going to see. And this document alone that they put out on Bitfarms is actually 110 pages long. So there's a ton of information in here, and I would encourage you guys to pause this video as we're going through some of the charts to really digest and fully comprehend some of the information that's provided in this report. So first and foremost, you guys, they've now initiated coverage on Bitfarms with an overweight rating and a $2 price target. So compared to where Bitfarms is currently trading in the $1.15 range, a $2 price target is essentially a double up. And as you'll see a little bit later in this research report, the price target, which obviously makes sense for these crypto miners, Bitfarms included, is highly related to the underlying price of Bitcoin. And they were very conservative in their forecasts in terms of Bitcoin appreciation over the next couple of years. So in my personal opinion, I think we're going to see a massive rally heading into next year's halving event. And I think on a macro scale, I've talked about this perfect storm we saw over the last or previous year. I think that's really starting to reverse, and we're going into a perfect climate here for a lot of these crypto focused companies. And I say that for three main reasons. We're starting to see a more risk on approach to the market. The interest rate raising cycle is starting to come to an end, and we're seeing massive interest in the tech sector, specifically driven by AI in the general investment market. And a lot of investors would really group crypto or Bitcoin mining companies in that technology bucket. So we're going to get some spillover there. We've got the upcoming presidential election in the United States. I think crypto and Bitcoin are going to be a major point of contention between the candidates. I've seen recent posts on Twitter from Robert Kennedy Jr. saying he's pro crypto. And I think this is really going to attract a lot of younger voters, which potentially could change the stance of some of the existing or other presidential candidates. And then we've got the macro Bitcoin environment itself, which again has generally seen price appreciation leading into these big halving events. So with all that being said, Canter Fitzgerald has given a $2 price target based on their projection of Bitcoin, based in part on their estimates of where Bitcoin is going. And I personally think they have very conservative estimates, and therefore the price target on these stocks could obviously be a lot higher. Now they then go on to talk about the company's business operations. So they're currently operating at 5 exahash per second with a clear path to 6.3 exahash per second in the back half of this year. Again, primarily driven by that growth they're seeing in Argentina. And as you can see in bold, we believe the Bitfarms story may be underappreciated by investors. The company has made significant strides in both providing stronger line of sight for near-term growth and improving its cash expenses, again by paying down all that debt. With a healthier balance sheet and higher confidence in its ability to plug in rigs at Argentina, which we're going to talk about, we believe Bitfarms' current discount to comparables may be overstated. If Bitfarms achieves its near-term hash rate target of 6 exahash or 6.3 towards the end of the year, while demonstrating this improved free cash flow and unit economics, we believe, or Canter Fitzgerald believes, there may be significant upside in this stock price, which I wholeheartedly agree with. So they then go on to give a background on the crypto mining industry itself, talk about some of the points of differentiation with Bitfarms. We've talked about this in previous videos, so their geographic diversification, their experience in the industry, and some of those underlying relationships or partnerships they have. And speaking of that geographical diversification and what they call the Argentina risk, you can see they talk about some of the historical difficulties they've seen through their operations in Argentina. And we've talked about that in other videos, primarily related to permitting and import licenses for a lot of these mining rigs. But they're now starting to make a breakthrough there. Argentina is online, and they're starting to bring in more and more rigs, which has led Canter Fitzgerald to the realization that the company should have a fairly conservative path or line of sight to that 6.3 exahash goal. So that was great to see. That's something I've personally called out in prior videos as one of my main risks with this company as well, is just the number of hoops and government policy that they'll have to deal with as a multi-country operator. But it's looking like they've finally got a handle on that. Their proven debt reduction, which again we've covered extensively, declining from $70 million in Q4 of last year to $20 million in Q1 of this year. And not only are they paying down debt effectively, but they're managing to negotiate discounted settlements. BlockFi was a great example, to get out of some of these commitments at a lower overall cost or impact to the business. Now, the first visual I wanted to really spend some time on, and again, feel free to pause the video here, you guys, was this one talking about Bitcoin as a form of money and comparing it to other traditional forms of money, being gold and fiat currencies. Now, this was really the topic of a recent book that I read by the name of The Bitcoin Standard, which I'd highly encourage you guys to read, but this really solidified my investment thesis in this category as a whole. Now, if you don't understand the underlying technology and the fundamental advantages or differences of Bitcoin and blockchain compared to traditional forms of currency or stores of value, I would highly encourage you guys to read that book as well. But you can see here, when you start to compare different forms of money based on things like their durability, portability, divisibility, so how easily you can actually split it into smaller fractions or portions, fungibility, so the ability to be interchanged with other individual goods or assets of the same type, scarcity, and acceptability, you can see Bitcoin is the standout leader in 4 out of the 6 categories. Now, acceptability is going to improve over time as we start to see more and more people offer access to crypto and Bitcoin. And the other red category of concern here was an established history, and this too will gradually move into the yellow and green category as Bitcoin becomes more widely adopted and used in our society. And you can see resistance to forging, variability, and censorship resistance are all rated green or high for Bitcoin characteristics compared to gold and fiat currencies as well. So this is exactly why I'm so overweight the Bitcoin sector as a whole, and why I'm investing in a number of companies in this space in a huge way going into next year's halving event. Now, they then go on to talk about Bitfarms Facilities. We've covered this in previous videos, so we're not going to spend a lot of time there. And then the next slide of interest that I wanted to spend some time on talks about one of the key investor debates related to Bitfarms in relation to achieving their hash rate targets. Again, 6.3 exahash is the near-term target. And on an overall or holistic level, they believe Bitfarms has the potential to expand their hash rate to upwards of 11 exahash per second if they're able to fully energize and operate in Argentina. And this shows a nice little breakdown of their operating capacity by megawatt in the various different countries in which they operate. And then the other slide I found in this section that I thought was super interesting and something I haven't really seen before is a comparison of the actual various different Bitcoin mining hardware or hardware providers. So you can see Bitmain, Canter, and MicroBT are the main companies that produce these mining rigs. And then you can see a comparison of the various different models. So when we talk about S19J Pros or S19 XPs, this is what it really means from a terahash per second perspective. So you can see that the S19J Pros have about 100 terahash per second, which is really pretty close to some of the top end Canter and MicroBT units. And that's really why a lot of companies we talk about on the channel are sourcing their equipment from Bitmain, because they've got the best equipment in the industry and can go up to 250 terahash per second when you're looking at the S19 XP hybrids. And in the case of Bitfarms, you can see they use the S19J Pros with a mix of 2 of MicroBT's lower end units. And just to extend on that point for another second here, you can see rig economics, again, based on the various different types of mining hardware. And if you look at the annual profit after taking into consideration power costs or efficiency costs of the units and the amount of Bitcoin that they can actually mine, you can see there's quite a noticeable discrepancy from the top end units to the bottom end, with the S19 XPs bringing in $19.3 million per year. So this is expressed in thousands, compared to the M20Ss, which bring in just shy of $9 million a year. And in this example, you can see all other assumptions or considerations remain consistent for the various different rigs. So from there, Canter Fitzgerald goes on to give their price target, which again, $2 represents about a 74% upside from where they closed out on May 19th when this article was put together. I should note that's a 12-month price target and is relatively conservative in my personal opinion. And these charts here really show a sensitivity analysis. You can see the Bitcoin price across the top and various different quarterly growth rates along the left-hand side. And in this modeling, the highest price they use for Bitcoin is $39,000. So if we really do see a massive run up to $100,000 or $150,000 US per Bitcoin in the next 12 to 18 months, that's going to have a considerable impact on these companies and their corresponding share price, as most of the input costs are sunk costs, and virtually every dollar that Bitcoin appreciates from here on out represents virtually pure profit for a lot of these miners. Now, the next couple of charts I'm going to show you are really what got me excited about this document, because this is something I've been considering putting together in my own mind, but I really didn't want to go through the steps here, you guys. So this actually compares every single company or notable company in the Bitcoin mining community, many of which we've talked about on the channel. So they've got CleanSpark, Riot, Marathon, TeraWulf, Hut 8, Bit Digital, Bitfarms, Neptune, and some new ones which I've not actually heard of and I'm going to have to add to my list. But you can see they put together all of their key metrics here. So the share price, the market cap, enterprise value, along with their current hash rate, energy costs, and various different valuation metrics. So if you're wanting to compare and contrast some of these companies, this is a great spot or resource to get some of your numbers and start to do some of your comparisons. And in this example, they've actually ranked these companies by their current exahash per second. You can see Core Scientific in first place with 14.8. So the fact that Bitfarms could get up to 11 gives you some perspective of how big that actually is in this community. We've got Riot in third place with 10.5, CleanSpark with 6.7, TeraWulf coming in at 3.3, and then Bitfarms, as you can see, sitting at 5 exahash per second as of May. And they then go on to give some additional comparative charts or metrics for a lot of the mining community. So I'll go through these quickly, you guys. You can pause on any one that you wish. So this is a 30-day moving average global hash rate chart. We've then got a ranking on current hash rate, a debt to equity or balance sheet view for each of the major miners, and then an industry overview giving some of the top bullet points or specific callouts for each one of these companies. So Riot, Marathon, Hut on page 1, Cypher, Iris, and CleanSpark page 2, and then some comp tables that compare revenue, adjusted EBITDA, and earning per share estimates out until 2024 for a lot of the same companies. So in short, you guys, I think this is a phenomenal document or resource that Canter Fitzgerald has provided, and I would highly encourage you guys to take some time, pause the video, and look at these various charts and visuals to really get a better understanding of how you should position your investments in the crypto mining space. Now, before I let you go, I wanted to give a quick call out to DJ. He's a longtime subscriber of the channel and someone that's actually provided a lot of great insight to help me develop my content. He also runs a YouTube channel. He's got a great interview on here with Jeff Morphy, who's the CEO of Bitfarms. I'm going to try and have Jeff on my channel as well. It's 47 minutes long, so as you can imagine, they touch on a number of parts of the business, and I would encourage you guys to go take a view of DJ's channel and this video specifically. Again, if you want more information on Bitfarms and management's vision for this company moving forward. Now that's all for today, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got some good value out of this video. If you did, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you as part of the community. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next update.